Boom! What's up, everybody? It's Christopher Crawford here for the 11th life video. Got an interesting story today. You know, hope everybody's having a great day. Interesting things happen in life. As you know, last video had Corona. I'm cured of Corona. Still been a while, but I don't fully have my sense of taste and smell all the way back yet. But things are, you know, we're moving along. It's better than it was. I was eating last night and I was like, this food, I'm actually tasting this food. So it was, you know, better experience. But for today, in the 11th life video, today is Friday, last Friday. If you check out my Instagram or if you've been on Snapchat, you know last Friday I got in a wreck. And so today we're going to be I'm going to break it down from start to finish to all the way into the night until I went to work the very next day. You know, happy to walk away from that, but we're going to basically start with that. And right now, currently I'm driving a rental. At least the rental has a, you know, ka-ching! Ka-ching, I've got 2 keys and they're switchblade keys, which is kind of cool, you know, something better than, you know, my poor truck. The truck I had was a white truck. You can check that out on Instagram. You know, I'm going to put that down in the description. Go check that out. You can see how bad the wreck actually was. Just like I took pictures, uploaded them, and I had the truck for 7 years. My very first truck, drove it for 7 years. The thing I'm probably going to miss the most about, besides, you know, the driving thing, is the memories. I had millions and millions of memories in that truck, friends, family, events that I'll never forget that'll just be in that truck. And you know, I mean, I'm gonna get a new vehicle, and that's, you know, but you know, I'm gonna miss it, big sad, you know. But her name was Bessie, but Bessie is resting in peace now. But to start with the wreck, it was, you know, last Friday around like 4:30. It was during the hurricane. It was coming in Hurricane Delta. Was moving into Louisiana, but I was moving into the Gulf Coast because I was actually leaving out of Mississippi. I just left out of Mississippi, just gone to Alabama, been in Alabama about 30 minutes. It's around like 4:15 when I'm driving, and the road was kind of wet. You know, it had been raining on and off. There's puddles of water on the road. I hit a little spook, and I was like, whoa, that was kind of crazy, you know. So I'm driving, going about 65, and like the speed limit's like 65, so I'm going speed limit though. That's good, you know, that's a good thing to do. And I'm driving, we're cruising nice, and we're about 4:30. All of a sudden we're going over some puddles on the road. We're on the right side of the road. You know, there's the road, and there's the grass patch, and then the other side of the road. So I'm over here, and all of a sudden it starts turning sideways, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I think I've got my hands on the wheel. It kind of gets a little fuzzy because, you know, I wasn't a wreck. So, you know, adrenaline starts pumping. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And I start sliding across the road, go across that. And then as I see myself going into the median, I'm like, oh, my gosh. I'm like, I hope I stop in this grass. And I'm just chilling here. And I'm like, oh, gosh, it's okay. But then my truck says, nope, we got places to be. So we go across the median. And then I'm on the road, going the wrong way. I'm not on here long because I basically almost a straight shot all the way across, and then I'm on the other side of the interstate completely from where I was. Hydroplane, my wheels were not gripping. I'm going all the way across. Boom, I see myself heading for the trees, and then all of a sudden I'm just, you know, time's flashing, you know, going crazy. Adrenaline's pumping. I'm losing my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're about to crash. Not we're, but me and Bessie. So I guess we're. Me and Bess are about to crash. Boom, everything hits. Airbag pops down right here. Airbag pops out the front thing. Airbag pops down right here. And I'm like, first thing I'm thinking, I see a little bit of smoke. I'm like, oh my gosh. I may have said some choice words. You know, I was like, I was upset. And, you know, I wasn't sure if I was dead yet. I wasn't dead. The only thing I got from it, if you can see that right there, it's, you know, a week old. Someone said I got burned from the airbags, what they said. I mean, I was conscious during this, but I don't know exactly where it came from. There was no broken glass. Everything in my truck was strode. Like the coin thing was broken. Everything I had in the back seat was not on the floor. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, there's a tree right here in front of me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because that's the tree I had hit. And I can't really tell how much is going on. My hood's dented a little bit. And so I'm like, all right, well, let's see what's going on. My driver's side door, I cannot open. That's what that motion was. It would not open at all. It would not come open. I guess it just wasn't sure it had happened yet. And so I'm like, all right, well, let me get out, make sure, you know, check on myself. And I get out of the way. So before I do that, I use my phone that I'm currently recording with. And I said, hey, Siri, call 911. This is probably one of the only times I'd ever called 911, and then I reported to the lady, and they said, "Are you hurt?" And I was like, I'm checking myself. I'm like, ugh, and I got adrenaline going. I was like, "No, I'm fine." And something to tell, if you want them to hurry and get to you, say, "I think I'm hurt," or say, "Hey, yes, I'm hurt a little bit," because they took their time getting to me, because crash was at 4:30. I think the officers didn't show up till 6:30, but back to where we were. And so I crawled over the middle part, and I hop out the thing. It's sprinkling a little bit. Still daytime. It was around 4:30. And I get out. I'm moving all the airbags out of the way because they're hanging down like curtains over the side windows. They're protecting me from the glass. It didn't break, so either way, I was still happy. All the airbags came out, and I hop out. I'm walking around. I'm wearing jeans, some shoes. It's a little chilly. I think I didn't put on my jacket yet because adrenaline's pumping. I'm warm. I'm not cool at all. So I walk around my truck, and you'll have to go check out the pictures. But I'd actually hit a tree about this big, like about as big as my head, like that wide. And that tree had been sitting there, and I hit the tree, boom, and broke the tree out of the ground and carried it with me for about 6, 7, probably about 10 feet. And that's where it was in my truck. It was lodged into the truck. Quite a big tree, about like 20 feet tall. So it was a big tree. He's probably dead now. As you know, we ripped him out of the ground. And so I'm just looking around at the damage. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm checking out. I'm like, I wonder how bad it is. And then I'm walking around, I'm like looking at the front where I see the tree part. I'm like, oh, this is bad, because the front left tire is completely destroyed, like completely just. That's the sound you make for when something's completely destroyed. And that bad boy was destroyed. I'm like, Bessie is in trouble. And so, I'm sitting there. In the course of sitting there, we're just kind of chilling, just me and Bessie. And, I'm going to end up sitting around. Eventually, people start coming by. Like, someone stops and I say, hey, I'm all good. And they go. And then I get back in the truck because it starts raining. I put on my jacket. And I'm sitting in the truck. I call, the people I need. I call my work. I'm like, dedicated to my job. I was like, I told them, hey, I'm going to get in. And then it was actually thankful to the people from my job. My manager who's above me actually came and got me. That'll come later in the story. But I told him, hey, I'm going to need a ride. And I was actually 3 hours from where he was at. And he still drove and got me. We're going to get to that in the story. But I'm sitting there. And then more people came out over the course of it. Probably like 15, maybe 20 people stopped total. I was telling most of them, hey, we're all good. Most of them stopped. Some people offered me some food if I need anything. Some people stopped and, hey, you got anything in the vehicle you need to get rid of? You need to get it out of here. And I was like, hey, I'm good. And then one lady named JC, they call her JC Guns is what she said. And she's like a marshal or something like that. She said, hey, if you do have a gun in the vehicle, you need to put it in a suitcase and get the clip in a separate place because you could possibly get fined $5,000. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Because I did actually have a pistol that was with me. I carried it with me. I got it for Christmas a couple years ago, so I always carry that with me, just in case I need to help somebody, And so I was taking care of all that stuff, and then eventually the last person to check, not the very last person to check, but the last person to stay there was Miss Bonnie. She pulled up in I believe a little silver car. I can't really quite remember the color. I'll see it again, don't worry. But an old lady, she's 78 years old. She's checking me, hey, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm good. She goes, what? And I'm like, I'm good. And, she's telling me. And then she was telling me she was talking to me nonstop. She's like, hey, I was just coming around. I had to come back and check on you. It's about 6 o'clock when this is happening. So plenty of people have already come and checked on me. So she starts talking to me, and I'm telling her, hey, I'm all good. I'm not hurt. And she's like, oh, you're lucky to be alive, and all that good stuff. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So we start talking, and we're just talking about different stuff. And eventually, we just start talking about just random stuff. Hey, she's like, yeah, I live right up the road and all this stuff. And, I just came out of, she's telling me what she'd been doing her days, helping her daughter get some stuff. I picked up a printer and all this other interesting stuff. So we're sitting there, we're talking for about 20 minutes. So we're, talking and whatnot. And so she's like, I told her, I got on the phone with all the people, called the trooper back, seeing when they were going to be here. And I was like, hey, they're going to be here around, I guess it was around 7. I said 6:30 earlier, but it ended up getting pretty late before they showed up. So I was like, hey, and she's like, hey, well, if you want to sit down in the car, and I was like, because, I didn't want to be a burden to this lady. We don't know our corona times. And I was like, all right, she's like, hey, I just got tested negative not too long ago, so I knew I was safe and everything. So, and eventually I was sitting in the car with her. We're talking while we're waiting for the state trooper to show up. He eventually shows up. We get everything filed and talk to everything. And I'm like, all right, wonderful. And she said, hey, I'm not leaving until we figure out what's going on with that in case you need something. I'm like, all right, thank you. You don't have to stay. And she persistent. Miss Bonnie said, hey, I am helping this man today. And I'm, you know, super thankful for Miss Bonnie. We sent her some flowers and everything. I'll probably show y'all some pictures of that on Instagram or something like that. Eventually, I'm going to go visit Miss Bonnie, so stay tuned for that. But we do that. State trooper leaves, and I'm like, hey. And she's like, hey, if you want to come with me to my house, which is, you know, it's a little spooky, but, you know, we've done talked, laughed a little bit. I get along with people very well. And I told Miss Bonnie, I was like, all right, for sure. So I hop in. And Miss Bonnie, we'll use this as the phone for Miss Bonnie. Miss Bonnie's got her phone. It's still it's dark by now. It's like 7:30. We're about to leave. She's driving. Her phone starts to ring. Her daughter's calling, her oldest daughter. She goes, slaps the phone. Hello? And the phone's not answered. I'm looking. I'm like, oh, okay. And like, she's driving one hand, Miss Bonnie. I'm not sure, you know, she can't quite hear. Then she slaps it again. Hello? And the phone's not answering. I'm like, Miss Bonnie, hey, you still have not answered the phone. And then, you know, she sets the phone down and she's like, oh, well, they'll call back if they really need me. And it was her daughter. I was like, maybe they do. They're kind of worried about her. She's done called them, told them the situation that's going on, that she's helping me. So they're kind of, you know, spooked and everything. But they call back and I grab the phone, I answer it, say, hey, this is Chris on Bonnie's phone. And I talked to her daughter a little bit and said, hey, yeah, she's fine. And we're doing good. We're heading to her place. And that's what we eventually do. First, we stop by the daughter's house, drop off a printer and stuff. So I'm helping Miss Bonnie do some errands now, which is pretty interesting. We go over to Miss Bonnie's house and we show up there. And she's got a cat. She says, don't pet the cat. The cat will bite you. I'm like, all right, good advice. And so we end up going in. She offers me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Oh my gosh, this lady was sent from the Lord above. That's my favorite food. I did decline it though, as my head kind of hurt. I was kind of, you know, uneasy. Didn't really want to eat. And so we go in and we end up being there for about another hour, hour and a half. And we talk nonstop the whole time about all kinds of interesting things. All her children, how they used to be playing piano. One almost went to Juilliard. All kinds of crazy stuff. Their history, things she used to do. How she knitted all of her daughter's wedding dresses. And I was like, knitted a whole wedding dress. I'm like, I can't do stitches or anything. I can barely build, you know, a gingerbread house, you know. And she can knit a whole dress. She showed me pictures of dresses that she's knitted. You know, all kinds of crazy stories. She has a daughter who works with Disney as a design manager. And I'm like, interesting. All this interesting stuff that she's, you know, been through at 78 years old. She'd been married for, I believe, 48 years. Her husband had passed about 10 years ago. So I was like, oh, okay, interesting, you know. She talked about this, and we were just having a great time talking about everything until finally my manager showed up, and she had given me all her contact information, said, hey, you better check in on me, you know, tell me if you make it home safe, how the whole situation goes. I actually called her earlier this week, and we talked on the phone for about 20 minutes, and tell her that how thankful I was for her, that, you know, there's good people out there that actually want to help somebody. And, you know, of course, you know, there's plenty of people who stop, but she went above and beyond, more than she even had to do at all to help me. And always thankful for her. Definitely going to go and check in on her again. And happy that things went well. Ended up driving all the way back that night with my manager and another manager. And we drove all the way back that night. I ended up going to sleep eventually because I didn't want to sleep at Miss Bonnie's house. She'd offered me to take a nap, and I was like, I'm good. I was, you know, worried. My head hurt. Didn't want to slip into a coma or anything like that. But eventually made it all the way home. Went to sleep around 11, almost 12. And went to work the next day. You know, woke up at 2:30, went to work. Super tired. Once I got to work, see all the people, I'm happy. Eventually, I'm a little bit sore, but still only walked away with just this. You know, showing all the people, hey, I crashed my truck. Be careful out there. And so things went well as far as I walked away from something that I could have died from. So, you know, happy to be alive. And happy to be able to make new videos. And, you know, it gives you a different perspective on life. Like, hey, you got to enjoy them moments. You know, enjoy the little things like I always say. And, but besides, I think that's it. You know, I'm going to be checking up on Miss Bonnie. You know, check the Snapchat stories and Instagram for anything about that. I'm going to check in on her and, you know, keep making videos. Maybe she'll be in one. Maybe we'll do something fun together. Lately we talked and she said she's about to, you know, cook up a whole mess of greens and plant a bunch of stuff. And I was like, interesting for sure. So, you know, she's doing well. I'm doing well. Hope all of you out there are doing well. If you got any ideas or anything, you know, check out the Instagram, Snapchat if you want to contact me. See how life's going. Still in the process of doing some new things. I will keep y'all updated on the Instagram and Snapchat daily. Hope everyone has a great day. And boom, be safe out there.